Well, awesome. I'm super pumped to have fellow Chicagoland attorney Johnathan Merel of Merel Family Law. This will be the first time I think two dudes have worn hats that are lawyers on a podcast. We don't do video, but this is all audio.
This should be the
Um,
time to start the video. You know?
next time. I didn't put my face on,
All
Jonathan.
right.
So
Well,
I don't. I have a
we
voice.
both
I have
have
a voice.
great faces for radio.
I mean, maybe WGN wants us to like have a radio spot. I
We could have
mean,
been studio live on the WGN News right now.
I mean, as kids, we could have been on like the Bozo show. So, but doing Bozo's buckets.
Those are buckets.
Um, well, this is gonna be a really fun conversation. Jonathan is the founder, owner of a family law firm in Chicago and newly in Detroit, expanding. So, Jonathan, I'll turn it over to you, man, to introduce yourself and what you do, and we'll go from
Yeah.
there, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, Patrick. It's good to be here. Um, yeah, my story is, it's a similar story. People work at a law firm out of school. They don't like being told what to do. They have aspirations of starting their old firm. They think they're better than the people that they're working for, which I will stand by today. I still do. But you just get to a point where you're like, I can do better myself. I have a vision of what I like and don't like based on what I've learned. And, you cut your teeth at the new firm. You learn how to become a lawyer. You learn the law, how to practice. So I don't fault my, previous firm for that. They told me kind of the ins and outs of, how things work here. But I didn't like how they ran the firm. I didn't think they treated their employees well. And I always thought I could do better and treat the people that worked with me and for me with more respect and create just like a better culture and learning environment. So as I got the experience and started bringing in my own cases, I thought about my future and was not really seeing myself there happy and decided to say, see you later. So I started my own firm.
Happiness. How did you determine, or when did you determine that happiness was a value that was
I
important to
think,
you as a lawyer?
I think you have to do something at a place that makes you happy, a job that makes you happy. If I was sick of like being pissed off or think that I wasn't, they weren't paying me enough or they weren't treating me with enough respect or they wouldn't give me the support that I needed, whether it be like a secretary or something. Like I was working harder than anyone at that firm and not being rewarded for it. And, of course I wasn't happy. So I
So
figured
when did you go off and do your own thing?
so that I worked there for like 7 years out of law school after passing the bar. And finally, I had probably 20 cases of my own. And I'm like, you know what? I could figure this out myself. I'm out of here. The timing sucked because my second daughter was about to be born. It was the recession in 2009. Everything was stacked against me, but I'm like, you know what? I can't just keep coming home upset and feeling
Mm.
undervalued. I got to do something about it. So I did.
So what has that gotten you to like flip the script from like
Well, one thing,
misery to joy?
yeah. I went from look, it wasn't all of a sudden you start a new firm and everything's great. Like, then you really start to fucking
Yeah.
freak out. You're like, great, now I don't even have a paycheck anymore. I barely have an office to work in. I have nobody to help me with anything. And everything, the buck stops with me. So, obviously, it's risk reward. That first step, taking that when, I've got a 1-year-old child, another one on the way, a family to support. That's nerve wracking, but I think that's what motivates you even more once I started on my own is like, look, this is up to you. You have a family to support. You can't just clock in, clock out and expect a paycheck. This is on you. So that really made me obviously worked 100 times harder than I ever had. Not that I wasn't working hard before, because there's no net to fall on. It's all you, and you got to figure it out. So I had a lot of pressure to do that.
Well, and you have figured it out. You have a very specific, unique culture and brand at your law firm. I
Yes.
love one of the things that you do is like you sponsor like the concert series
Yes.
in the summer. It's one of my favorite things that a law firm does. So how did you end up doing that? Like we're gonna do something that's in the community because here's the thing, right? Like family law attorneys, the idea is that you don't advertise family law, but you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
I mean, look, look, half of marriages are going to fail. And it's just a fact of life that marriages aren't going to work out. I mean, so people need to be directed to the right people. And I mean, look, marketing is a part of any business, but you have to do it appropriately, and you can't be a complete asshole about it. I think yes, we get our name out there. We're in the communities where our offices are located. We, give back to the community. We get our name out there. We print fancy stupid hats like this and wear them proudly. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing a good service for people.
Mm.
Divorce lawyers can get a bad name, or any lawyer can get a bad name for whatever reason, but we're not home wreckers like people like to call divorce lawyers. We are actually here to help people get through a difficult time, to get people out of really troubled times in their life, to help children and help people move on. So, um, it's a fact of life that divorce is going to be around, and you should surround yourself with the right people and attorneys if you do find yourself in that situation. So, by us marketing ourselves, we're getting our name out there, and people can know that they can find us and we have a good reputation, and they could research us to make sure of that. But if they don't know who we are, it's going to be hard for them to find us.
Two questions. One, so there's a spectrum of when people are looking for a litigator and family law. There's either they want someone who's a bulldog or they want the golden retriever. Where does Merrill fall on that spectrum?
Well, I think a good family lawyer can be both types of dog.
Mm.
You can be the golden retriever and you could be the bulldog. I mean, I tell that to all of my clients that I'm speaking to, because it should be it. I mean, first and foremost, if you can resolve someone's divorce case amicably without running into court and litigating and being that having to be that bulldog where your case is being litigated for a year, 2 years or more, you don't want to go that route. You want to resolve a case outside of court through mediation or just through negotiation without a ton of litigation. Sometimes you don't have that choice. I mean, if you have a bad actor on the other side, or one of the spouses is a drug addict or an abusive person, you're not going to play nice with someone like that. You're going to go in and protect your client and be the bulldog you have to be. But if people are in a place where cooler heads can prevail and you can resolve the case outside of court and not run up a ton of money in attorney's fees, I think we owe it to our clients to obviously look at that as option A.
So so it's not that what we usually like doing is like either or. You're either one way or the other. You're saying like, well, you need to be able to be dynamic and shift around and show up as yourself. This is another reason
Yes.
why appreciate what you're doing is you go like, okay, right now the conversation is basically professionalism, new professionalism, and personal branding is like one thing, right? Like you either wear a suit or you wear a backwards hat. And you're like, no, how about we can do both things? Someone just asked me this at a CLE. It was
Right.
like, and I was like, well, it's what do your clients expect and in what environment? And is it, you're not going to wear a tracksuit to court,
Right.
right? But let's say you're having an informal client meeting. Maybe you do wear your favorite tracksuit or favorite Air Jordans or
Yeah.
signal some other way of your personality behind kind of the veneer of being an attorney. So what because like I'm seeing your office, you got like your dead mouse head
Yeah.
and your pickleball paddles or whatever
Yeah.
behind you. How do you go about kind of
It's finding that right
yeah.
mix. I mean, there are, different, obviously, when you do this long enough, you're going to have meet a lot of different people. But I think people overwhelmingly want to be comfortable with their lawyer.
Mm,
And when you walk into a lawyer's office, the traditional grumpy old man in a suit who's, staring you down and is so intense. I'm not sure that everybody wants that. I mean, can I play that part? Sure. But I think people just want to have a good rapport with their client. It's not like when they come into me, I need to like necessarily prove to them that I know what I'm doing. I think after doing this long enough, they probably assume that. And after talking to me, they would know that. But to impress someone just by wearing a suit, these days, I just think it's different. I think, especially since COVID, things have gotten a little more relaxed. At the same time, look, we're lawyers. When we go into court, we have to dress up and wear a suit. And, that's what you're supposed to do to show respect to the court and the rule of law and all that. I understand that. But when you're meeting someone, I just don't think there's a need to get super intense and super
Mm.
dressed up anymore. I think people have like can breathe a sigh of release when they know they're talking to another person as opposed to this intimidating lawyer. Now, if I'm in a deposition and I'm cross-examining somebody on the other side, that's a different story. But when I'm trying to, establish a relationship of trust and understanding with a potential client, I don't think I need to dress the part necessarily. And the idea of gaining their trust, showing them that I'm knowledgeable and can get them the outcome they want is what's important. And I don't necessarily think you have to dress up to prove that to somebody.
Because it's how you show up. Like you said, it's how you show up. And yeah, your appearance is part of it, but it's how you present yourself and how you talk and how do you create this in a law firm culture? Because you have a fairly big team that
Yeah.
you're having this be one of the cultural values.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a balance. I mean, I'm not showing up in like shorts and a Michael Jordan jersey to meet a client. But
Not yet,
I
not
don't
yet.
necessarily need like, three-piece suit and tie and everything. But, I'll wear a sport jacket and look nice, of course, but you don't need that, overarchingly intense like demeanor that I think people are used to and don't really like anymore. These days, things have gotten a little more relaxed. But when it comes to like the culture of the firm, yes, it's a work hard, play hard firm. Like everyone works their ass off here. Everyone gives 110% when it comes to getting our clients the outcome they want. I've created an office which has obviously that same kind of persona where, it's a very nice office filled with, professionalism and integrity. But, in the back, we have a lounge with a bar, we have a meditation room, we have a Peloton room, we have all these features that kind of almost resemble like a tech office, but it's a really tasteful combination of both. And I think I've always wanted to have this modern law firm, and this space gave me the ability to kind of bring that to life. So while we have a beautiful office with, conference rooms and all the things that a fancy law office would have, as you get towards the back of the office, you kind of see that it provides a space for our employees to relax and kind of be themselves, collaborate, and do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do at a
It,
regular law firm.
it's like the mullet of law offices. Business in
Business in the front,
front,
party
party
in
in the
the back.
back.
Yeah. Yes, I
And so
love that.
well, that's you can steal that. You can
I
borrow
like
that
that.
from
I
me.
like that. I like
Well,
it.
and you have taken basically your culture, your vision of your firm. It's a reflection of you in a lot of ways, and created this physical environment that embodies that. How do you get people to buy in? How do you get people to be like, this is, my vision.
Mhm.
Come join this party.
Sure. Well, I mean, are you talking about employees or
Yeah,
clients?
or both,
Sure.
because
I mean,
a
first,
lot of it is just about experience,
yes, of
right?
course. I mean, look, first things first, clients, at the end of the day, if you're not good lawyers and you're not getting them results, I don't care what your office looks like, whether it's the biggest piece of shit or the nicest office that was ever made. At the end of the day, you need to be a good attorney. You need to be attentive. You need to get your client results. If you don't do that, I don't care how much marketing or branding or what your office looks like, you're not going to do well. So, I mean, first and foremost, we're here to get results for our clients, have a good reputation, which we do throughout, Illinois and now Michigan. Like our reputation precedes us. So we've built a reputation that hopefully means more than anything. But I think, when clients come here, they know it's a beautiful office. We kind of show them around the back. They think it's really cool. And obviously, well, from an employee standpoint, I want a place where employees want to come to the office. I mean, a lot of times during COVID, people shrunk their office space. Nobody came in anymore. And you're still seeing that today. Many of my competitors, their offices are a fraction of the size they used to be, and no one's really required to come in, or if they are, it's 1 or 2 times a week. I always stood firm that when we could come into the office, we need to be here. It's good for your mental health to get out of the house. It's good for camaraderie. It's good to bounce ideas off each other, to collaborate, to mentor our younger attorneys, to really create a culture at a workplace. And when I had the opportunity to move to a new office, that is really what I had in mind. I wanted to create a space where people wanted to come in and they enjoyed being here as much as they enjoyed being home. It gave them obviously a sense of home, that feeling, while obviously still being their office space. So by being able to create that, I think I created a place where people want to come in, and instead of downsizing, we got bigger and built a bigger space. So kind of going against the grain as far as what everybody else is doing.
Is that a theme for you?
I mean,
Go kind
sometimes,
of trying some different things. When people go
yeah.
left, you go right. What are some other examples of
I mean,
what either you've done
I've tried to break the
or you
mold a
thinking of doing?
little. I've
Yeah.
just tried to break the mold a little. I just feel like the legal profession in general could just be so far behind. Like I remember when I started my own firm, like internet marketing was just starting to take off. And I was like literally investing every penny I made into it, which people are like, well, why don't you just keep from for yourself? I'm like, this has got to be the way to do it. I have to pour everything into it, where some of the more traditional, well-established family law firms in Chicago, they barely just had a website, and I'm throwing all this stuff into ideas for getting leads and stuff, and pay per click and SEO, things that I thought were important and did turn out to be important, but just kind of just doing things that maybe are a little untraditional. Like for
Mm.
example, we just hired like an in-house divorce coach, which is something that no other firm really has that I know of, and really just kind of
Few.
having,
There's very few
yeah.
that
So
do.
really kind of pushing the envelope on the client experience, and really focusing on the client experience instead of it just being the typical attorney client relationship, especially in the realm of family law and divorce, since it is such an emotional issue. Yes, we're divorce lawyers, but we're not therapists, even though we have to
Mm.
play the therapist hat. We've been doing that a long time. Why not have someone in your firm that can really almost kind of play that role, and have someone who specializes in dealing with the emotional aspect of it? That's just not something that's really been done a lot. And I thought having that person, Christina, as part of our team would be, a great selling point and a great resource, not just for the clients, but for us too, as the attorneys.
Have you always been this like kind of break the mold? Were you born this way?
Um,
Or is this just something you
I
discovered
mean,
along the way?
I just think I just like to kind of think outside of the box a little. And I've really kind of done things like, and I've always been like, all right, do I need to hire this person, as far as like, I don't know if we have enough work for them. And I just kind of like will things into being. Like, I remember starting out, like, I had my first associate. I'm like, gosh, I don't know if I should hire another associate, but I really like this person. I don't know if I can afford them or if I have enough work for them. And I just am like, you know what? I don't want to pass up on this person. I'm just going to do it, even though I probably can't afford it and don't have the work. And then it just kind of hopefully works out. So I don't know. Maybe I've gotten lucky. Maybe I'm an
No.
idiot. I don't
No.
know. But I just think you have to,
You
sometimes
take
you gotta go for it.
you have the spirit of entrepreneurial risk. You take you're more intentional, I think, than probably you give yourself credit for.
I mean, I have an idea. I just don't know if it's gonna work. And trust me,
Well, none of us do. Well, none of us do.
I've had a lot of ideas that didn't. And not everyone has
What is
worked.
one of them? What's a
Well,
good
just like
idea?
some
Yeah,
marketing
yeah,
decisions I
yeah.
made, or like contracts I get into. They're like, well, you have to sign a 2-year contract. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. And then like
Sign.
4 months later, I'm like, oh shit, this isn't working out. Like,
Yeah.
what do I do to get out of this? I mean, I've made mistakes and I've learned the hard way, but I think that's part of life. You have to, as long as you're learning from your mistakes, you're doing all right.
So I'm gonna go back to you mentioned your Chicago Bulls jersey. Who's your favorite Bulls player of all time?
I
It
mean,
says a
Mike,
lot about a person. Well, other than him, I mean, there's that.
I mean, Bulls players. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so hard to go outside of that era because we've horrible since.
yeah.
I mean,
But you could,
I mean, once like Scottie Pippen left and that the dynasty was dismantled. I mean, it's really been mediocrity. We had Derrick Rose, who was obviously the Chicago guy who got us to the Eastern Conference Finals. But other than that, I mean, there's really not been much to cheer for. Not just the Bulls, but Chicago sports in general.
well, yeah. I mean, the hot question right now because the Pope is from Chicago is are you White Sox or
White
Cubs?
Sox, diehard White Sox, which is tough to admit. It's actually tough to even like talk about. The fact that the Pope is a White Sox fan was at game one of the 2005 World Series was the best news that happened to the White Sox organization probably since 2005.
Probably.
So 20 years since the Pope has attended the World Series and we won it all, not one good thing has happened to the White Sox.
Maybe the tides will turn now.
Maybe,
I
maybe.
mean, you never know.
I mean, he needs
So
to bless that team because they are awful.
by
Awful.
by papal decree,
Yeah,
he will
please.
bless the White Sox, give them
Really
some.
hard to be a fan. Really hard to be a fan of the White Sox. But yeah, I mean, look, Michael Jordan was my idol, still is. I mean, I don't think anyone has impacted the city of Chicago more than him, and not even just Chicago, like the entire country, as far as a single athlete's influence on like society. I mean, it's endless. Sneaker culture, just
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
nuts.
everything. It will never.
I just saw a thing. It's like how much money he makes still off of Air Jordans.
Oh
Like
my God.
crushes every other
Makes
athlete's
more
shoe.
money now than he ever has.
It's literally insane. So, what are your favorite pair of Air Jordans? What
I
number?
mean, the Jordan ones are my favorite. I have a big sneaker collection.
I know.
I've
I
got
figured you did. You strike me as someone
I've
who
gotten
does.
into now the Jordan 1 low tops because the high tops, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting too old. They don't feel as normal. Now I just like the Jordan 1 low top shoes. Like the Travis Scott versions are really cool with the backward swoosh. I
Yeah,
like
what color combo? What's your favorite color combo?
I mean, I like the blue and the black ones with like some weird laces, maybe some pink
Ah,
laces, or the green and black ones are cool. Like the olive green, I like those too. I don't know.
the
There's a lot of
cool the
start
coolest
with
pair,
Travis Scott ones. Obviously, the OG Chicago's are the best.
the black and red ones.
Yeah, the black and red,
Yeah,
the originals.
I like the. I'm a Air Jordan 13 with the hologram.
Yeah, of course.
I had those. That was my first pair of Jordans I got when I was in the fourth grade.
Those are great. I
And
wish I
then
could wear those now. They're too heavy and clunky. And unless I'm lacing up to play basketball,
yeah,
which I'm not.
yeah.
That's not going to go with my
Yeah,
everyday look. But those are great
yeah.
shoes.
They are. They are cool shoes. I used to be a huge into shoes
Yeah,
back in the day, but now I'm not as cool. Or maybe I just care about different things. I don't know.
exactly. Your priorities may have changed. You're
They do.
probably
They
still as cool. I just think your priorities are changed.
thank you. So I'm still cool. I just don't have an epic shoe collection
Yeah, but it's
like you
harder to
do.
keep it up. Like I don't like I mean, I used to like 10, 15 years ago or even more, I was just like obsessed with it. And what's coming out next? Now I'm not as crazy. I like the comfort as far as the shoes. I can wear comfortably, which is now the low top, the Jordan 1. So I kind of stick to those for
At
now.
your height, how many sneakers did you own?
Probably like over 200.
Did you have like a specific closet of just
I
shoes?
actually just started buying these like boxes that you could stack, and it became like a giant wall of them.
So if
Then
you're
there
in there,
wasn't enough room, so I had them like overflowing into closets in the basement, and bought one of those shoe racks that you saw at like Foot Locker in 1984,
yeah.
like the metal, and it's had
Attorney Johnathan Merel, crushed by Epic Shoe Collection in critical condition at Chicago
exactly.
Memorial Hospital. Well, what other interests do you have outside of law? Because this is another one of your topics is like
Yeah,
you gotta have your identity outside of
sure.
lawyer.
I love traveling. Traveling's great. I mean, I love traveling. Of course, this day and age, it's easier to travel because you're so everyone can be connected to the office so much more. I mean, that's one thing again, COVID changed is people don't always expect you in person. And you can meet somebody or jump on a meeting in a Zoom, being anywhere. So, I mean, if I can travel, I'd like to travel, obviously, pending on work and family stuff, but travel and golf. I love golfing. Unfortunately, I live in a city where you can only golf 4 or 5 months a year. So
You
maybe
pack it in. You
that'll
pack it in.
change and it kind of hurts your game when you're like, you're just starting to hit your stride and then it starts snowing for another 5 months. So.
Where's your favorite place to travel to outside of Chicago?
Um, I love Europe. Europe's awesome.
Where in Europe?
I mean, I've been to the south of France. Greece is awesome. Italy, I love. Spain. I mean, I think all of Europe is just, there's so much history there, and every country's kind of got like its own story, and just being able to kind of walk around and see stuff that's so historic versus compared to here. I mean, what's crazy is like if you juxtapose like the history of the US versus the history of Europe, like, American history old is like 200 years, like
Yeah.
European history old is like thousands of years.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's
it's
like,
crazy.
well, it's even like being in a city like Chicago. Most of Chicago burned down in the Chicago fire.
Right.
So like most of old Chicago literally burned to the ground.
Literally, there's like the water tower and a couple other buildings.
Yeah.
It's
That's it. That's it.
I know. So like
Or
the history, like you hear about the history, but you don't see it in Europe. I mean, when you're walking in cities, you take one, walk down one corner in like Rome and you're like seeing something from, you know, thousands of years ago. And that just doesn't happen in the US really.
no, so you just like have your own set of priorities of what you care about, and then you just like go do it.
I mean,
I would,
I have plenty of responsibilities,
well,
so
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you're irresponsible.
no, but I'm just saying, yes, in a perfect world, I could do this at all times and just, do things.
So
But
how do you keep yourself from doing it at all times? Like, because
um,
very, very easily, you're an intense dude. Like,
yeah. Oh,
how do you break it off? Like,
well, I have to.
how do
I
you
mean,
say like
I have my
this is the
number
line in
one
the sand?
obligations are work and my family. So that obviously is a precursor to being able to go run off on a golf trip or even play golf. I mean, yeah, I like on a Friday afternoon, can I, get away from the office and play golf? I try to do that just because it's so limited how much time you can golf in Chicago. Of course, as people get older, that's why they, spend their winters in warmer places so they could do that. But I'm not there yet. But
Merel is not gonna be in Texas anytime soon.
I mean, I wish. Great.
What's your thought process?
Well,
Are you
expansion. So
yeah, tell me about
yeah.
expansion and keeping culture and what that
Well, I
has
mean,
meant for
again,
you and
the toughest part about expansion is making sure you can maintain the same level of service and your reputation. You could open offices everywhere and pull someone off the street to run your show, but if you're going to tarnish the reputation and name that
mm,
you've made, I don't want to do that just for the sake of saying, "Oh yeah, we're in this state and we're in that state." So that's been something that I'm obviously struggling with as we first open, not struggling, but making sure we maintain the same level of service in the Detroit area that we do here, which we thankfully have been able to do, but making sure you find the right talent to be able to maintain and sustain the image and reputation that you've built. I just think people can lose their way if they're just too focused on, all right, we got to open up all over. But then next thing your reputation sucks and you're not delivering the results that you always have. So that's a problem.
one of the hot topics right now is the inability or the lack thereof of talent. Has that been your experience? What has been your experience
It's
with
really
this?
hard to find A players. I think everyone wants A players. And, I'm not saying that this generation doesn't have them and doesn't have like the newest generation have, but people are definitely different. I think, you know, when I started law school, like I was not under any circumstances going to go to work and not be the first person there and not leave without being the last person there, and making sure I build more hours than anyone, like as putting as much of a gap between me and the second person when it came to billable hours. I don't think people like have that MO anymore. I just feel like people come into out of law school and like, they got a job. And I mean, thankfully I have some great young lawyers working here, but I just think that the overall outlook on how people work is different in this day and age when it comes to, maybe it's COVID again. I don't know what it is. It's just there are different breed of people now. And yes, there are great lawyers out there who don't have to work like a lunatic and are super smart, um, but I just think it's hard. And I mean, I ask a million people, it's not easy to find people. It's just hard. I don't know what it is. I mean, when I went to school, I was thrilled just to have a job paying me $34,000 a year as a salary. I was thrilled. Now it's like people come in, not only they expect a job, they expect this much paid time off, they expect this salary, this benefits. And I mean, it's so much different. And I think maybe there's an expectation that, this is what they deserve. But I've always felt you have to prove yourself. And if you do prove yourself and work hard, you should be rewarded for it. But there definitely is a difference in this generation of attorney that's just starting out in mine. I just think there's a different set of values or work ethic, and I don't know. It's definitely noticeable, and I'm sure most people in my position or who are my age would agree.
Oh, this is the one of the main conversations happening. I think some of it has to do with, yeah, like there's a, because you said it, like you were the first person there, the last person to leave. That to you, that you equated that to working
I
hard.
would never consider leaving my office if anyone with any seniority over me was
I
partner, anybody.
I
Now,
could see you doing this.
like people, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say goodbye to 12 partners at
Yeah.
502. See you later.
Yeah. It's because I think there's a reframe of what it means to work hard. I think work hard now is like I'm going to be really efficient. I'm going to get my stuff done, and when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah,
It's just a different, I think,
mindset.
mindset,
Yes,
and the tools are different, right? Like just think of what 25 years ago now you can do, right?
right.
What used to take 5 hours now takes
True.
an hour if you
But what
have,
I also don't understand is
yeah,
that I try to like convey this to people that work for me.
yeah,
Like, you should always have work somewhere in your mind. I'm all for the
yeah,
work-life balance. Get out of the office, get
yeah.
fucked up, go drink, do whatever you want to do, get decompressed, be with your friends, work out, do stuff. But like, as maybe it's just family, like family law is not a 9 to 5 job. Like there are people who run into situations where their spouse is, hammered and starts hitting them, and the police are called at 10 o'clock, and like you might have to get involved and do something. Like, I mean, maybe it's just because of like learning as you go, but there are emergency situations that come up. There are clients who are freaking out that need to talk to you, and it
How,
might not between 9 and 5. So it's like you always
yeah.
have to be ready for that.
I'm going to push back on this a little bit.
Okay.
How often do emergencies happen in your office
I
with
mean,
clients?
obviously people define emergencies as
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah, that's why
But
I'm saying.
if
Yeah.
you're going to like uphold a certain reputation that we're here for you whenever you need
Ah.
us,
Mm.
like you look, it's not so hard to just send a text back or like hope everything's okay
Sure.
or get on a call for 5 minutes. That's just been me. And maybe I'm fucked up and doing this
No.
the wrong way. But I'm
No.
just saying people are
It's not a
it's
judgment.
it's
There's not a,
reassuring. It
yeah.
is
Yeah.
reassuring to clients that they can call. Now, look, if they're abusing it and just say, "Oh, I just have a couple quick questions," I'm going to say, "Hey, it's 9:30 at night. Call me in the morning." Like I'll put my foot down. But if there's something going on and someone is really freaking out, I'm going to talk to them and deal with it, no matter where the hell I am. And I just think that's in this business, you have to be able to provide that. You can't just ignore someone who's in a time of crisis. And
Mm.
sure, does it happen every day? No, which is even more reason why, if it does, you should be able to stop what you're doing. And again, it's not even just that. if I just think if you're going to be a successful attorney, there has to be work has to be somewhere. Like to go home and like say, I'm not looking at my phone, I'm not answering another email from Friday till Monday morning. Like I just don't know how you can do that
I
anymore.
do it. I do it.
You just put it
I've
away.
done it. I've done it for 10 years.
Well,
You're like, shit, no. And,
your area of practice is different
well,
first.
it's all crisis. I mean,
True.
so this is where it's good dialogue because I see you posting this on LinkedIn, and then I'm like, well, I do these things. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jonathan. I think if that works for you, cool. Right? Like I think there's a lot of dialogue right now of like vilifying how you practice law. And I
Yeah.
think that's unfortunate because that
Yeah.
works
True.
that works for you.
Yeah.
I know other people that are like, you know what? In my free time, I like reading books about voir dire. I'm like, that's blows my mind. But cool, right? I know another attorney. He's very successful. His kids are like, Dad, you're kind of like always working. He's like, yeah, but I love it. And I'm
Right.
like, here, like I'm still present. I'm like going to go to your things and whatever. But it's like
Right.
this is what I enjoy doing. I don't I don't think anymore there's this binary, right? Like
Yeah.
I I don't work on the weekends. I've never worked on the weekends. I've never I didn't study on the weekend in law school. Right?
Well,
Like
what?
that
Yeah.
worked that
Well, yeah.
worked that worked for me,
Studying, I was the worst studier
you
ever.
know? But like
But I'm saying there's also like what defines work. Like, 30 years ago, you couldn't go on your phone and say, I'm working, I'm answering an email.
I don't have a smartphone.
Yeah, right.
I don't. So it's like if I'm out, let's say like I go take a walk with my dog. No one have any ability to get a hold of me.
That's insane.
Yeah, like I'm going to do something with my kids. Like let's say I go to a Timberwolves game.
Yeah.
So has anything bad happened? No.
That's great.
But that's me.
Yeah, this is my like
And I'm not
ADD gets,
criticizing. I'm not
I
criticizing.
get it. My
You know,
ADD gets the worst of me. I mean, I haven't been diagnosed, but I definitely have it. Like I need to just always be like,
doing.
I gotta respond right away. I gotta, even if it's not an emergency, that just become who I am. And again, I wouldn't let it impact me as a parent, and I would never like have it
You have some
the really
non-negotiables.
important things
Yeah.
in life, of
You have
course.
you have boundaries.
Yes, of course.
They're just different. And this is the thing. And this is the thing I think is that the conversation is really, well, what works for you? And what is an emergency?
Right.
Right? Because
Right.
you bring up the example of like the cops are involved. Well, what are I mean like and I granted I don't do this right? It's practice area specific, but it's like a lot of times is really what you're saying is the one of the experiences you want to provide to people is that you're there for them. Even if it's legally you can't do anything. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just like, hey Jan, that sucks. This is a bad situation. I'm here to listen. I can't really do anything legally, but I'm here for you.
Yeah. And
Right?
they want to hear, they want reassurance that, you're listening to them. If it is like a situation, like sometimes you are on the phone with the police and they want you to talk to them. But again, are you really changing a lot right at the moment? Probably not. But if you're be able to provide some peace of mind to the client and like reassurance that, since you are their first phone call, that you're there, I think, you're doing good.
You should have someone who like triages,
Right.
right? Like,
Triage unit,
yeah,
on-call triage unit.
right? Seriously, right? Like, because then that person,
Exactly.
right? If they just want to be heard,
Right. No, you're right. It's
right?
not a bad idea.
I just,
Oh, I
I
think we're on to something here.
divorce triage,
That's
right?
next.
Service of Merel Law Firm. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, you and I could chat all day. We could just like
Oh my God, for sure.
shoot the shit,
For sure.
shoot the breeze.
100%.
Um, well, how I end the podcast by asking the question, what do you think it means to be a newfangled lawyer?
I don't know. What does it mean to be a newfangled lawyer?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think lawyers should always be themselves. I mean, you have to be yourself as any if you're trying to be someone that you're not, I don't think you could really be successful as an attorney. I just feel
Mm.
like some people they kind of lose their way when they're looking for, something that they think might be lead them to more success, but they can't act as their self. I don't know. I really don't have a great answer for you.
That's a great answer. That is the answer.
That is the answer.
That was well, there's not one answer.
Yeah, I know.
But you're right. I think it's the it's almost like this discomfort of being yourself.
Yeah,
And you feel like you have to try on, right? All these different ways of presenting or being or acting. But at the end of the day, if you're acting in a way that's not you, one, clients can figure it out very quickly.
right. Yeah, that's
And
true.
then they're like, what else are you bullshitting me on?
Yes, I mean, you
Right?
got to be yourself, and maybe you'll have some detractors that don't like the way
Sure.
you are, but you know what?
What do you say to them? What do you say to the
Can't please
detractors?
them all. I mean, sorry, then go somewhere else.
Do you have feedback that people are like, you know what? We just don't like that you wear hats. Like we don't like do you have some people that
I mean, yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, I could see it through obviously dialogue on LinkedIn where like, you should show respect and by wearing a
Oh.
t-shirt and like,
Yeah,
go fuck yourself, buddy.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, yeah, I mean
I mean, look, I get
yeah,
it. I could see both ways. I mean, there
yeah,
are the traditionalists and there are people who are
great.
trying to adapt. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's why there's multiple options for lawyers. If you don't like me, then find someone else. If you don't like me, come find
It's
me.
called capitalism.
Exactly.
And and how clients, right, are consumers and
Hmm.
how consumers make decisions is on likability
Yes,
and how they feel.
for sure.
And so anymore, when someone is going to basically consume legal services,
Hmm.
right? And they see attorney A, B, and C, and they say family law, right? They just know I need a divorce.
Right.
How they're making the decision now is like, of these three options, who do I vibe with? What resonates with me? I don't even know, like, is this person good at writing a brief? I don't
Right.
know. I have no idea.
Right. I mean, that
You
goes
know?
back to what I was saying before. I just want the person to feel comfortable. I think a
Mm,
lot of people going into this, they've never really spoken to a lawyer or, they haven't obviously gotten
comfort.
a divorce before. And like if you go in or like, "Roar, roar, 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 roar," and you're shooting off all this legalese, they have no goddamn clue what you're talking about. That's really not the way to connect with somebody, especially in something that is as emotional and deep as like a divorce.
Mm,
This isn't a real estate transaction. I mean, this is like your kids, this is your livelihood. These are dealing with situations where people have never had to deal with, managing money or, moving on to the next step. So, I mean, you really have to establish that person to person human contact and connection. Otherwise, I just feel like you're doing the disservice to the people and they're not
you're
going to be open to hiring you.
you're like guiding people through grief.
It's part of it. Tons
You-
of grief.
I mean,
Not a happy time for most people. Not
no,
a happy time. And
no.
people are freaking out. Some more than others, of course, but
Comfort.
you have to be able to give them the tools to connect with you and show them that your law firm actually gives a shit, which is
There you go. Your new tagline.
yeah,
Merel
we
Law
actually
Firm.
give a
That's how we're gonna end. That was
shit.
well, Jonathan, that was a fantastically fun
Yeah, that
conversation.
was awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing. For anyone else who likes the podcast and the different various narratives, there's no one way of doing it. I think Jonathan, this is one of the things we covered today is there's no one way to do it.
Uh,
There's not a right way. There's plenty of wrong ways, but there's not a one way normative standard of doing this. We can all have success in our own way. So thank you so much for being here today, and
this is
let's
great.
keep it
Thanks
going.
for having us. And
Yeah.
thankfully, the audience doesn't have to look at us. They just could hear us and they'll make it better. But thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Thanks.
Very, very cool.
Appreciate it.